All right, everyone, welcome behind the basket. Excuse me, got to learn the name of our own show. It is episode 2, and we are back. We had a great time, episode 1, talking about all things NBA, and today is going to be a very fun episode because our playoff matchups are locked. They're not going to play for a little bit. We still got some games today and tomorrow. But everything besides the 8th seed in the West is locked, so we're going to talk about as many matchups as we can. We've also got a lot of different things that have come up. It's been an awesome week of basketball, so let's get right to it. I think the easiest way to start is just by saying if the Orlando Magic win one game against the Milwaukee Bucks in the series, they're the winners of the Eastern playoff.
I have a prediction for that. And it's 4-1. I think the Bucks are going to win 4 games, and maybe the Magic will get lucky and get 1. Maybe. But, the East, the way, all of the matchups, I don't see really any underdogs winning. I don't really see it yet.
I agree. At least in the East, I don't think we're going to see an upset. I think all the top 4 seeds are definitely going to pull it off. The West is a much different story. So if we look at these East matchups here, we've got Milwaukee and Orlando, Raptors versus Nets, Celtics, 76ers, Heat, Pacers might be one that's a little bit interesting. The 4 or 5 seeds are always very tight. If again, before the bubble, all of my opinions were so much different. Yeah. I think that definitely the Heat would be able to take Indiana, no question. But do
you know the drama there?
The TJ Warren, Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, so they'll definitely be getting into it. TJ Warren has been phenomenal. He's had a couple off games, more pre-bubble TJ Warren games for sure. But overall, his stats are still fantastic. He had one of his greatest games against LA, the Lakers. Even though the Lakers aren't performing to the best of their abilities, they're still a good team. So this Indiana Pacers team that's putting everyone on the ropes, they could really take Miami the distance. So that's a toss-up for me.
They could. And I guess going back to the Bucks versus Magic, the Bucks really haven't been dominating like you would think they would for being first seed and everything.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess there's always a chance that they've lost their mojo or something, but playoffs are different. But they really haven't, like you said, since it's been the bubble, everybody's kind of, or some teams have definitely been playing differently.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that'll go on to the playoffs or not, but I definitely predict that Bucks will take that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the 5-game series is a pretty safe bet because the Bucks haven't been playing super well in the bubble. Now, granted, the loss to the Nets, Giannis only played like 15 minutes, so that's a game that they probably could have won, but didn't. But some of their other games, they've had some definite challenges. Teams like Houston have been able to figure out how to contain Giannis a little better, or at least contain his teammates to where that they can really contend with them. Orlando, I don't see having anyone being able to do that, but I think the Bucks' title chances are a lot lower since the break than they were before we entered the bubble.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Nets, we said off camera a minute ago, they're 5-2 right now in the bubble.
I believe so. I believe that's what I saw. If someone fact checks me and I'm wrong, that's me.
No, I checked it. It's right.
Okay, cool. We're good.
They are starting a game right now. Very important game against the Trailblazers. But versus the Raptors, I don't know. That might actually be a pretty tough matchup. If they've got some momentum, the Raptors are obviously a great team. And I still, honestly, I think that they could absolutely win the title again this year. They've been playing just as well as last year, even without Kawhi. So But I think that's going to be a pretty good game. I hadn't really thought much of that game earlier until I'm just now looking at it, but that might be a really good game.
Yeah, the Nets, I did not realize how good their record in the bubble was, especially because they're not playing with Kyrie. They're not playing with Spencer Dinwiddie. Kevin Durant hasn't played a single game in a Nets uniform. Right. So they're relying on Karis LeVert and whoever else showed up, basically. And they're putting together some wins. So they're definitely going to be taking the playoffs seriously, which could catch Toronto off guard. But Toronto's looked like one of the best teams in the league during this bubble. People forget.
The Nets?
Say that again?
Didn't they have some injuries?
The Nets or the Raptors?
The Nets. Last week, I think they had someone that was hurt.
We talked a little bit. Jamal Crawford got hurt early. That was a veteran signing. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think he was only going to miss a couple games.
I'll be completely honest. I haven't been keeping track of the Nets because they're a team that I thought wasn't going to have a chance in the postseason either, which is why the 5-2 record surprises me greatly. And the biggest problem right now is that the Portland Trailblazers are playing them. If they lose to the Nets, they do not have a chance to make the playoffs. And I guess the Nets aren't holding back. So that could be that game just started, or I don't know if they've tipped off. It's going to start right now. So we don't actually know who the teams in the West are playing for that 8th seed will be. Nets, I can see maybe stealing 2 games from Toronto, and that's kind of a very giving sentiment I'm giving them. Yeah, the Toronto team just has such a stifling defense that I don't see the Nets being able to win that series over them at all.
So I'm writing these predictions down. So you're predicting 4-2?
I will. I'll be a little that's probably a very brave assumption that the Nets are going to be able to take 2 from a team that I'd probably put my money on to make it out of the East, but they're surprising people. And I'm going to go with that bold prediction. Bucks in 5 and then Raptors in 6, even though realistically I would not be surprised at all by a Raptors sweep. They're such a good team.
Okay, so then next, Celtics versus 76ers. The 76ers are playing without Ben Simmons.
So I would have made this one a toss-up if Ben Simmons wasn't injured. And what they've been saying is that he wouldn't come back unless they are making a deep playoff push, which against the Boston Celtics doesn't seem likely. The only chance I give the 76ers of beating Boston's defense is phenomenal right now. They've got Tatum, Brown, Hayward, Kemba. They can all score. You can't shut them all down.
Best defender, in my opinion.
Marcus Smart isn't. He's a very underrated ball player, in my opinion. The only way 76ers win is if Joel Embiid becomes some form of Shaq. If he's able to just go in there and put up like 35 and 15 a night, Embiid basically has to carry the 76ers past the Celtics.
So I do think that the Celtics come out winning this, but I think that the 76ers will take them to 7 games.
You really? All right. I got to hear this.
It's not even very much reasoning behind it. It's just, I have that feeling. I think that that's going to be one of those good series that keeps going. There is no reasoning behind it, really.
I'm all for a 7-game series.
That's my prediction. It's gonna be 4-3.
4-3. I'd honestly say
I'm gonna put my name in your name. I think yours is different.
It's definitely going to be different. I might want to change my Raptors prediction after this because I think that Celtics can take this one in 5.
In 5? Okay.
Like, Embiid is a phenomenal player, but his health has always been suspect. He's been on limited minutes in the bubble. Tobias Harris is one of my favorite players, but he's sadly overpaid. Pamela does not agree with the 7 games. And Celtics have way too many weapons. I don't think the Sixers have enough. I don't think Al Horford will be able to make too much of an impact.
You remember last playoffs whenever Embiid cried walking down the tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's going to go to 7 games.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be more of an emotional thing.
Embiid back with a vengeance. Embiid finally averaging 30 points a game and just going to dumpster everybody.
Yeah, I think it's playoffs. It's different.
I would love to see it, but I'm going to agree with Pamela here. I think it's going to be 5. I think Celtics are a very, very good team. And the scariest part about them is that their core is still so young. So they're the 3rd seed in the East right now, no problem. And if they can lock down Tatum and Brown and build around them, that is an East contender for a long, long time.
I would honestly like to see the Celtics in the finals. I mean, out of the top, out of the East, I think that would be my pick for the East. Is who I want to go to finals.
I would put Eastern Conference Finals for them, just because I think Milwaukee would still have the edge on them in a matchup. If Giannis plays the way we know he can, as good as the Celtics are and as good as their defense is, I don't think they can stop prime Giannis, prime MVP, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And then the Raptors, even though they don't have Kawhi, that entire team is championship proven.
Yeah, absolutely.
They know what they're doing. So I would say Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. But again, I'd probably give them a little bit of thought as a finals contender. You know, they definitely have what they need. And the bubble, I think, is going to be full of surprises, which is part of why I predicted Raptors in 6 and not 5 or 4, is that some of these teams are just going to be wild. Say that again.
Were you going to change that, or are you sticking
No,
with
I'm gonna stick with it, because if I get it right, I'm going to be so proud of myself.
Okay, so Heat Pacers. We already talked about them.
Pacers.
I don't know. I think he takes it in 6.
To me, Miami's the easy choice.
Yeah.
But, well, let me rephrase that. They should be the easy choice.
But like
Miami
you said, it's tricky in 4 and 5.
It is so tricky 4 and 5. And the trickiest part is that the Pacers are playing way above what I think their team rating is, if you put it in some sort of video game terms. TJ Warren should not be, statistically playing the way he is. I'm not going to tell him to stop. I love Bubble TJ.
No, yeah, it's awesome.
I want him to keep dropping 30 pieces on everybody. But this is a team that's playing with a Victor Oladipo who still hasn't found his mojo post-injury, and they don't have their all-star Domantas Sabonis, who may return soon. That'll be interesting to see. But these two teams are just classic balance. I mean, TJ Warren hasn't been playing anything balanced, but from top to bottom, these are two East teams that have relied on just a deep foundation. But I got to give the edge to the Heat still.
I agree. I think the Heat will take it, but I do think it'll be close. I think the games will be close. Okay, so we'll skip over the Lakers in the West.
We'll keep them for last, because I think that could be a really good matchup. So we'll keep them for the last take. And also, I'm going to say Heat in 6.
That's what
that'll be my Heat prediction. I think Pacers can surprise them, but that Heat team is just very good. Very good team. I would say they kind of give me some Boston vibes with their balance and their really good team defense. But Boston has a lot of guys that can step up. How is no one mentioning the majestic cat? You got a cat sitting back there? Cat will give his takes later.
Okay, Clippers versus Mavs. That is just straight up defense versus offense. The Clips have one of the best defensive teams, and Mavs offense is the best in the league. I don't know if it's still the best in the bubble, but going into the bubble, I think they were ranked first in offense.
They were actually, the Mavs offense was clicking at the best rate in NBA history. Really? They're just scoring buckets like nobody's business very efficiently. So that just speaks volumes to how good Luka Doncic has gotten in his just second year in the league. But again,
21, right? Or 19? No, is he 19? He's 21.
I
think he's 21.
20 or 21. He's very young still.
But so the Clippers in regular season so far, they've won all 3 games. So, but I don't know.
This is what I believe about the Mavericks is that they're too top heavy of a team. There's so much hype around Luka. You know, he's got all these 30-point triple doubles. He's leading the best offense that the league has maybe ever seen, at least in the modern era. But they're only the 7th seed in the West. And that speaks in part to how stacked the Western Conference is.
Yes.
And I also think it kind of says something about the Mavericks team construction, because you've got Luka and then the rest of the team.
Yeah.
He is just head and shoulders.
I don't remember who the 2 of them are, but they have, when we were going into the season, last off season, they had the biggest team. Oh, is that the majestic cat they were talking about?
Yes, that's the cat. He's been watching the show.
Sorry. Okay. They had the 2 tallest, the tallest team. They had who? I gotta look up their lineup.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure. I think this happened in the bubble. Actually, it was the first time I think that they've started 2 players over 7'2". If that's how tall Porzingis is, but it would have been Kristaps Porzingis, who, by the way, is playing phenomenally in the bubble. He was doing okay before, but now he's averaging like 20 points per game in the bubble, which is very good. That's top of the league right now in these past 7 games. And then Boban Marjanovic, who's one of my favorite players.
Right.
He's just such a funny guy and one of the most efficient players in history just because he's tall and very smart on the court. But Clippers have Kawhi and Paul George. Now, Paul George has gotten a lot of flack for his recent playoff performances in OKC, which I am very familiar with. But playoff Kawhi is no joke. And I think that 1-2 punch with Lou Williams coming off the bench is going to be too much for the Mavericks to handle.
Well, and Montrezl Harrell is back.
Is he back?
He's back. He got back, I want to say 3, maybe 4 days ago.
Is he quarantining then?
I think they only quarantine. Well, I mean, it depends on what they do. So he might be quarantined for up to 10 days. But some of them only quarantine 2 days. I don't actually know if he's playing or practicing yet, but he is back there. And like we talked about last week, him with Lou Williams, they've got that pick and roll, and they just work well together. You know. And then my personal favorite is Patrick Beverley. I love Patrick Beverley. I love his defense, even though a lot of people hate it. I love it. He is my favorite non-Rocket. I love him.
He was a Rocket, so there's that.
So was Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. They all went in the same package for
Chris Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pat Beverley is one of those players that you love him when he's on your team, and you absolutely despise him when he's not on your team.
I can't hate him. Even like on other teams, I think there was a little bit of talk this past offseason about Houston getting him back, and I just wanted it to happen so bad. I love him.
He's a good player in his own right. You know, he's very scrappy. He gives it his all on the court. You know, you can definitely see there's a fire under him every day.
Yeah.
And a quote I actually like. Now, I'll personally come out and say I don't really like Patrick Beverley, but I remember an interview that he gave one time talking about just how he knows that every minute he's given on that court is an opportunity. It's a blessing. You know, he gets to play the sport that he loves. He gets to start for a playoff team. So he just goes out and gets it. So I do respect that from him.
So do you not like him because of the Russell Westbrook beef?
It definitely played a major role in that, you know, and most Thunder fans will
can't stand him.
Shout obscenities whenever Patrick Beverley is on the court.
Yeah.
Part of it, and it's very hypocritical of me to say because his attitude is so like Russell Westbrook's. They're totally
Mhm.
cut from the same block. They've
Oh
got
yeah.
that drive. They're angry on the court. They're in your face. They're trash talking. So
Hmm.
I think I need to learn to appreciate Patrick Beverley more if I'm ever going to speak kindly of Westbrook in the same sentence.
Oh, we're about to get to that.
Let's get to it.
Thunder versus the Rockets.
All right,
So
this is the big one. This is the big one for Behind the Basket.
now, I'm a Rockets fan. Hunter is a Thunder fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we disagree on this one.
Oh yeah, we definitely do. And it's complete bias.
Yeah.
But let's make those predictions. What do you think? What are you going to do to my Thunder?
I think Rockets take it in 6. Now,
Mm,
let me be clear. I love CP3. He's,
right.
again, one of my favorite non-Rockets. I wish we had never had to trade him, but we got Russell Westbrook, so I can't complain. But I think Westbrook is probably going to miss a couple of these games because he is injured. He has a strained quad. He's a strained quad. And they're saying that he's going to definitely miss a couple of the games. They don't know after that, but I'm hoping he misses just 2 or 3. And I think those games, we're going to see James Harden go off like he does. Might see a 40-point game, definitely some 30-point games. But I think that the Thunder definitely know how to play the Rockets. They will double team James Harden. We are going to be we're going to be relying on Austin Rivers and Eric Gordon and Ben McLemore and Jeff Green. Those have been our other shooters. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to depend on if their shots are falling. I mean, that's, I think, honestly, what it's going to come down to if the bench and all of the and Harden are making their shots. But I just think that it's very ironic. The Rockets traded Chris Paul because they said he couldn't stay healthy for Iron Man Russell Westbrook. And now we have an injured Russell Westbrook, and CP3 is perfectly healthy. It hurts a little.
This is a matchup that's destined to happen because on the day that trade happened, there's a lot of conflicting feelings. First of all, everyone kind of downplayed the Thunder, kind of like, oh, they're definitely rebuilding. There was a ton of trade rumors about Chris Paul. A lot of teams wanted Chris Paul. His contract's tough to match, but some playoff teams were considering making a move. And then some other key pieces that we have, Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder,
right?
They were also in trade talks. So people were like, Thunder are going to blow it up. And then they decided to see how it went. And now we're tied with record with the Rockets, which is just inconceivable from not draft day, but the trade day. So now to my prediction, obviously I think the Thunder are going to win. I think it's going to be tough. I'm going to say Thunder in 6. I won't be surprised if it goes to 7.
Yeah.
The reason being James Harden. If we'll probably have some time to talk about the NBA's bubble MVP award that they're considering giving. Harden's definitely in contention for that award, as we talked about. So he's definitely going to be a threat on offense. And I will give credit where credit's due. His defense has improved.
Yes.
He gets a lot of jokes about how
that. A lot of
it's, I don't like watching the Houston play style as often, but his defensive schemes, his mindset, his effort, it's definitely improved. And he's always been a really good post defender. The advanced stats show that. So the reason I think they'll take it in 6, well, asterisk here, they'll take it in 6 if Dennis Schroeder comes back. He's a 6th man of the year candidate. He is really, I give him just as much credit as Chris Paul for driving this team. He's part of their 3-guard lineup that has been. His wife had a baby and he left the bubble.
Oh.
And I don't know if he's back yet. He hasn't. I don't think so, because I've been following it pretty closely, and he hasn't been in any games. I think we had some people out. Steven Adams was out for a little bit. He's back, so I think we have everyone but Dennis Schroeder. If we don't have Schroeder, I think if Thunder win, it will be in 7.
Okay.
If they do have Schroeder, I think they take it in 6, because he is just a phenomenal player. Backstage, so we're very biased here. So I don't know who it is. He's got their third opinion on what they think is going to happen through a different.
It's definitely me.
All right.
Obviously we have Elizabeth. Elizabeth over here is just all about the Rockets. You're all about the Thunder. So I'm here to cut you guys down the middle.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you who's really going to win this series.
Oh, let's hear it.
Oh, man, Hunter. Oklahoma City doesn't stand a chance. The Rockets are taking this in 5.
Oh, really? Oh, and he just dips. Well, we'll see.
I swear, if you just jinxed my team, Jake, I will be so upset.
If Thunder win in 5, I'm going to be all over that group chat. I'm going to be pinging you guys every hour. We'll see. This is going to be a really good matchup, I think. Thunder have been a surprise, but Rockets are a good team. And I think their 5th place seeding doesn't do them justice because of how good the West is.
I agree with that statement, but every team in the West is just great. And even down to the maybe 8th seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Each team is just blowing my mind right now. So, do you want to talk about that? Lakers versus ?
We have one more matchup, which it'll be easy. Probably take us, at least in my opinion. We've got Denver and Utah.
Right. We skipped them.
Denver's an interesting team. They've been at the top of the West for the past 2 years. I think they might have been a 2 seed last season. I'm not sure, but they're 3rd seed right now. And Utah has looked so bad in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm predicting a Nuggets sweep.
I agree. So normally for that, I don't know. I think it's 2 or 3 seasons now. The Rockets have taken the Jazz in the first round of playoffs.
OKC had the Jazz our first year with Paul George, which was another great moment in our history.
So what was that, like 3 seasons?
It was the year after Russell Westbrook won MVP. So that would have been the 2018 playoffs, I think. Because Westbrook won MVP in 2017. And then Rockets had him 2019.
2019.
Oh, I think Rockets they played the Jazz in the second round in 2018.
Oh, okay.
And knocked them out to go to the conference finals, and then played them in the first round last season.
Okay. I know we had them first round last season because my mom bought me playoff tickets. I actually got to go to one of those games, and I was right by the Jazz's tunnel. And when they lost, I got to see them just going back to their locker room. It was the greatest moment ever. And the Rockets won, so yeah.
That's awesome. That's got to be a good feeling. Doesn't matter who wins between Rockets and Thunder. The Raptors are repeating anyways. Got our Canadians. It's not that bold of a prediction because of how good the Raptors have been playing in the bubble. They are playing really well. Miss you too, Brian.
Miss you too, Brian.
So we'll see if Raptors repeat. We'll have our episodes in the next coming weeks where we'll talk about these matchups and maybe we'll make some more predictions. But yeah, I think Nuggets sweep easy.
I agree.
I don't think Utah has enough to do anything. Donovan Mitchell's their offensive engine. He's great, but it's not enough because they're missing Bogdanovich. Gobert doesn't really score. So I think that one's
he's good defensively, but on the other end they got the Joker, and he can defend and score. I definitely not all defensive, but he makes do, and his offense is just crazy. He's probably the funnest player in the league, in my opinion, to watch.
because his playmaking is next level.
I'm getting a lag on your, I don't know, your video.
Oh, well.
Your lips aren't matching your words.
Well, as long as you can hear me and I just won't move too much.
Okay, so now Lakers versus whoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's either out of, now we're down to Portland, Memphis, or Phoenix. Now
yes.
you have the scenarios, right?
Yes, I do. If I'm not lagging too much. Oh yeah, I am lagging. Yeah, I want to open.
Yeah, bad there. If you want to just refresh
so
your page real quick,
Memphis.
Completely refresh. Yeah. Okay. So what are we talking about?
We're talking about who the Lakers are going to play. It's between Portland, Memphis, or Phoenix.
Portland, easily.
It all comes down to tonight's game that's being played right now. The Trailblazers versus. Oh, okay, we're back.
All right, what's good?
So right now, what's happening is that the Trailblazers are playing the Nets. Now,
yes.
If they win, did you say that they can play the Grizzlies for a spot?
Yes. So
how does that work?
So what's going to happen right now? The Grizzlies are set for a play-in position, which I'll get to in 1 second. Basically, right now, the Portland Trailblazers, if they beat the Nets, they get the number 8 seed, and the Grizzlies will be the 9th seed. If they lose to the Nets, the Grizzlies will take the 8th seed, and the Suns will take the 9th seed. Then the play-in it's going to be, it's a best of 3 with a twist, meaning that the 9th seed has to win 2 games, but the 8th seed only has to win 1. So, for example, if it's Grizzlies Suns, if the Grizzlies win the first game over the Suns, they don't play anymore. But if the Suns win the first game, they have to win a second game. And that's kind of the NBA's way of making it fair. So right. I think they might have had that because Memphis had a very solid lead above the rest of the pack in that 8th seed. You know, they were up by 4 or 5 games, and then their entire team just fell apart in the bubble. They have not been playing well, so they've lost that momentum. But as far as I understand, whoever's got that 8th seed gets a little bit of an advantage into making it into the actual playoff spot.
Well, the Grizzlies, they did have quite the game. I don't know if it was yesterday or today against the Bucks, but it was without Giannis, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But they actually had 2 triple doubles. That was Ja Morant and Valanciunas.
Jonas Valanciunas, something like that.
Yeah, they both had triple doubles. And I mean, it wasn't full strength Bucks, but they did beat them. So they had a decent game, but I think everybody's more worried about the Blazers or the Suns.
100%.
That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. So if the Blazers lose tonight, I would absolutely want the Suns to win. I think that it would be a shame for them to go undefeated in the bubble and not make it to playoffs. That'd be super upsetting.
It is, and it seems so unfair, but at the same time, I have this feeling of too little, too late.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. This is the same Phoenix Suns team. Portland's a different story. They got back 2 very key pieces to their team. Mm-hmm. So they're pretty much a completely new team. Portland, without those 2, I don't think make the push that they are right now. Phoenix just flipped a switch.
Yeah.
And it would be, I really wish it came down to Trailblazers and Suns as the play-in, but unfortunately we aren't going to see that. Possible? It's not, because of they're only doing play-in between the 8th and 9th seed.
Yeah.
And it's just there's just enough separation that only one of them can get that 9th seed because the Grizzlies started out with that lead.
Yeah. That'd be
so
a cool game to watch, though.
It would be amazing.
Just like for fun.
They should do a 1-game play-in for who gets to play against Memphis. Everyone wants to see that. Have them earn it. They both deserve it. And that's a way without just bumping Memphis out. But realistically, no one's scared of Memphis at this point.
Yeah.
They're a great team. I wouldn't worry if I was Memphis or if I was a Memphis fan because their team is so incredibly young.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that for the majority of the season, all the season before the bubble, they were competing for that playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good foundation to build on. So, I wouldn't worry about it at all. So whoever is not the Grizzlies, I want to go through because I think there is a possibility of an 8th seed upset in this postseason.
I agree. The Lakers lost again. I don't know who they played to, but they are 3-5 in the bubble. And I mean, that's with the full team playing. I don't know if Davis played yesterday. When they played, I think it was yesterday.
Davis did not play today, and LeBron only played like 15 minutes. So they didn't have their 2 top 5 players in the league playing for, LeBron scored like 16 points in 15 minutes, something ridiculous like that.
Were they resting Davis?
I don't know. Davis is known for having little nitpicky injuries every once in a while. I think they're doing the same thing as these other top teams are, where they're just kind of resting their starters with injury reasons. But they lost to the Sacramento Kings, who already got eliminated. The Kings have no reason to win. So the Lakers bench and role players lost to the Sacramento Kings team. It's just not a good sign. And they lost a lot of other key games. They lost to the Pacers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you've lagged again. You're stopped. You might need to refresh again.
That's when I jump in.
Okay, so I think that, actually, while we're waiting on him, I'm going to check the score real quick on the Portland game, the Portland Nets. Because part of me wants the Trailblazers to take it, and part of me wants the Suns. I don't know. I really wouldn't care either way. I just want whoever wins to beat the Lakers.
Well, both Portland and Phoenix are having great bubble games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's Phoenix that's 8-0 in the bubble right now.
Yes.
Devin Booker's playing out of his mind.
Yes.
Better than I honestly thought he could. And yeah, I knew Devin Booker was a good player, but he's not a elite player. And in the bubble, he's been playing at elite status.
Yeah, I think after this, going into next season, he's going to be looked at differently. And that game is 1 point. It's 27-26 right now at the end of the first quarter almost. So it's a close game in Portland.
Welcome back, me.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the connection today. I'm in the same spot. But yeah, Portland-Brooklyn game. It's gonna come down to the wire. It looks like Portland's only ahead by 1. Brooklyn's definitely giving them a run for their money. So when it comes down to that matchup against the Lakers team hasn't been looking that great, but you can't discount playoff LeBron even at age 35 at any point. So it's definitely going to be close. And then Anthony Davis is a phenomenal player as well.
Yeah.
But the Suns haven't lost a game, and they've won a lot of games very decisively. Yeah, and Damian Lillard has gone supernova on the league ever since the Clippers beef, which is a whole other fun thing.
He had a 51-point game against the 76ers. And then I want to say that was the night after the Clippers beef, which I don't know if everybody keeps up with NBA drama, but basically what happened was trash talk between Paul George and Patrick Beverley with Damian Lillard first on the court. They're just doing what basketball players do. I think Lillard missed 2 free throws, and Patrick Beverley held up his watch and said, like Dame time or something like that, because they were important free throws.
Yep.
And then it went on to Instagram. Now, that was a whole different thing. They were, I think that family members got involved. Well, who was it? It was Damian Lillard's sister commented, because they were still trash talking on there. But she commented on it and called Paul George's kid's mother a stripper, and she called her a cow, and it got out of hand quick. I don't know how it escalated so quickly, but it did. But right after that, after all of that drama, he went on and scored 61 points. And he's going crazy.
It's nuts.
And actually, we have a whole bunch of other stuff. I completely forgot. We got so caught up in playoffs. I have a whole other list of things to talk about.
Oh, playoffs are going to be good. So part of that Damian Lillard, Paul George beef is the game clinching shot that he made to put the Thunder out of the playoffs. Hit it right over Paul George, almost at half court, and they've kind of had bad blood ever since. And then just to interject a couple of stats, Damian Lillard is the first player in Trailblazers history to have back-to-back 50-point games when he had the 50 and then the 60. And then that's his third 60-point game of the season. He is the only player in NBA history to have 3 60-point games in the season besides Wilt Chamberlain, who is his nickname is like the record book or something because of how many. So
he holds all the records.
He holds all of them. So if you ever have a stat and you're compared to Wilt Chamberlain, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, big deal. He oh goodness gracious, my battery's low. Can you take me off for a second? I need to go grab a charger.
All right.
And so I'm back.
Let's go, Jake.
Oh man, I'm getting a lot of airtime today on basketball.
It's just one of those days, Jake. So
hey, we're gonna have them. We're growing pains here. We're learning as we go. Hunter and Elizabeth, I need to remember what camera I'm using for this one. Hunter and Elizabeth aren't normally live show people. This is the first time they're doing this. So they have a few kinks they need to work out. And we're here to work it out with them. So, Hunter, where are we going? What are we talking about?
All right. Well, things went so perfectly the first stream. I think we just jinxed ourselves. So one of the things we're going to talk about, and so you're in the kind of New England area, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. Now that Elizabeth,
so I'm in New Hampshire, which is right up, and I say this because a lot of people say, I don't know where that is. An hour north of Boston. I live right there.
Right there next to Boston. Something that we were going to talk about is so Carmelo Anthony, one of the great Knicks players. He's now playing for the Portland Trailblazers. Elizabeth kind of mentioned his history. He was on the Rockets for a little bit, didn't have a lot of success there, and he was cut and spent almost an entire season without being on a team. He's on the Trailblazers. He's making a huge impact. And he just passed Paul Pierce on the all-time scoring list. Paul Pierce, a Celtics great. His jersey got retired, I think, like a season or two ago. So the question that I wanted to ask is, who do you have ranked higher all-time? I don't need like a top 10 or whatever, but who do you think all-time is the better player, Carmelo Anthony or Paul Pierce?
See, the problem we have with this question is, especially when it's exactly centric to a region, and then I'm from that region, even though I don't watch basketball like you guys. So if I say Paul Pierce, it's going to, well, you're just a Celtics fan. Okay, no, not at all. It is Paul Pierce, predominantly for the reasons of he stayed with the same team for all that time. He won with that team. Oh, yeah, we can go into basketball. The only thing that really matters is the championships.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Pierce has one, lost one. Carmelo Anthony has?
He has 0.
Yeah.
He's lost?
think he's lost 0. I don't think he's ever.
Exactly. He's never even
I don't
been
remember
to
if
the
he
final.
went. I don't remember
He
if he went
spent
with
how
Denver.
many years on a very terrible Knicks team?
Very fat cat. Sorry.
Paul Pierce at least knows what it's like to win. And in the NBA, the only thing that actually matters is winning. And we have Antonio Capola
Yo.
saying hello. And hi, how are you?
Hey, Antonio.
I'm good.
And our good friend Tim, who's joined us on the wrestling show a few times, also saying hi.
What's up?
All right.
So,
hello, everybody.
Paul Pierce has experienced winning, and Carmelo Anthony has experienced a lot of, well, losing.
Is he
It's
lagging
definitely so.
again?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're there now.
Oh my word! I'm good now.
Yeah. You're
Okay, so here's the
We'll go
reason
back to
it's a
backstage.
toss-up for me. All right, thank you for helping us out, Jake, as always. So the reason why the Paul Pierce Carmelo Anthony debate is so interesting to me is the fact that Pierce does have an NBA championship, to which he was a very important piece. And I'll just say Paul Pierce is a terrible analyst. You know, his takes are pretty bad when he's been on air. And I think people let that cause them to judge him a little too harshly. He was a great player. He's very underrated in all-time talks. So his accolades are definitely there. But as an individual player, just based on statistics and individual impact, I want to say Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah,
now, Paul Pierce is a great player. He won a championship, but he was playing with prime Rajon Rondo. He had Kevin Garnett, who anchored that Boston defense with Rondo. They had that inside-outside punch. And then they had Ray Allen. That team was just stacked. That was such a good team.
Wait a minute. Didn't Carmelo Anthony have Allen Iverson for like 4 years?
Allen Iverson when he was like 34 years old or something. I don't remember exactly.
So wait, you're telling me Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen in the twilights of their career and Allen Iverson in the twilight of his career are not the same?
I'll say one thing. I think Allen Iverson is incredibly overrated as a player.
Oh, wow.
I was
not expecting that.
So he gets a lot of respect from NBA circles, which, you know, from his peers, if they look up to him, no reason why he shouldn't. But he's like a career 39% shooter or something like that.
He was 5'0".
And he's fantastic, but
it was definitely not 5'0" because I spent the other night reading about the shortest NBA players, and Muggsy, that was his name, right?
Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb, they're both tiny.
The shortest ever at 5'2". So
sorry, he's like 5'6". My bad, guys.
I think he was like barely pushing 6. He was a lightweight, but all-time scorer. He's so great. And he led one of the greatest finals run of all time with a very, weak supporting cast. But I can't buy into the Allen Iverson hype personally.
He is 6 foot tall, by the way. Exactly.
6 foot.
Yep.
Athletic, made some big plays. He had some clutch time moments. But Allen Iverson in his twilight, he doesn't hold that weight to me because I wouldn't rank him super high in my all-time. And I know there's a lot of Allen Iverson fans out there. I'm not disputing that. He's a great player. I do think he's overrated. And Carmelo Anthony was young in Denver. I think what really killed his career, it was around 2015, 2014. He signed an enormous extension with the New York Knicks instead of going to free agency. And as soon as he was locked into that Knicks contract, I knew that he was done.
Sorry,
as a star player.
Cat won't leave me alone.
Vince Carter versus Carmelo Anthony. Who do you pick?
Carmelo.
Carmelo again?
My reasoning being, he still has a chance to get a championship. He might get it this season.
That's true.
Vince Carter was amazing. And I was super sad that he didn't get to like have a real goodbye tour. Like most of them do, like last year, Dirk got the whole tour and Wade. I was super bummed that he didn't get that. His whole season got cut short because the Hawks didn't make it to the bubble or anything. But I'd say Melo still. I would say Melo.
I'd have to. I'm a stat head at heart, so I base a lot of my decisions off of numbers. And I know Vince Carter has some very impressive seasons where he's been a really great scorer, but I'd have to give the edge to Melo again because just from a more casual side, when I think how much hype did I hear about each player and how much success did they have as a player, Vince Carter doesn't have a whole lot of playoff success. So if we use that as a reason to knock Melo, we should knock him as well. And Melo has long been known as a phenomenal Hall of Fame scorer, whereas Vince Carter has been known more for his athletic ability and his dunking, which is a shame that it's great that we'll remember him as perhaps the greatest dunker of all time, but that overshadows, he was a good basketball player as well, multiple 20-point seasons. So I hope that people look into that and see that he was more than just dunking, but at the same time, I wouldn't put him above Carmelo Anthony.
You know what, though? As a Harden fan, most people just see how many times he goes to the free throw line, And I feel like this dude has offense locked down. He's gotten so much better on defense, and people who say he hasn't aren't really watching the games. They're not watching those steals. They're not watching him rebounding more than anyone else on the team. Don't get me started on that. Okay, to jump over, we got like 9 minutes left, and I wanted to touch on a couple topics. Also, moving up on the all-time scoring list was Harden. He ended up passing Calvin Murphy, I think, and so he's up to 38th. Melo is now in 15th. Draymond Green got fined $50,000 this week because he did, the Warriors aren't playing. So he was doing, what was it? I don't even know who he was talking to.
I think so there was a little bit of Draymond and Charles Barkley beef.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
when people, I don't know if Draymond started it, but he was talking about how washed Charles Barkley was and he's not a champion and Draymond is. And then Charles Barkley had the famous, "Will you average a triple single?" comment. And now I think they're doing a show together.
Well, somebody said that he did really good. Like they liked him in that position, like talking about it and stuff. So he did a good job. But he also said that Booker shouldn't be with the Suns. He said you need to get him onto a better team. Basically, he's not going to do anything there. So he got fined $50,000 for tampering, which sucks. Especially when you're like not working right now. You're not even playing games. Right. That sucks. We went over the drama between Lillard and Paul George. Oh, the MVP finalists. So it's, of course, Giannis.
Okay. Is this regular season, like the whole season MVP, or is this just in the bubble? Okay, regular season.
Yes.
Okay. My opinion, if it's not Giannis, you're wrong. I don't think anyone comes close. Now, as great as LeBron and Harden have been, Giannis is just on another level. He's averaging almost as many points as he is minutes played. He broke the league record for player efficiency rating for a season, which was, again, Wilt Chamberlain. So beating Wilt. He's in the top 10, I think, of both points and rebounding. He's bound to be, he should also win Defensive Player of the Year. I just don't see how anyone can light a candle to that. Now, I won't be mad if you go Giannis, LeBron, Harden, or Giannis, Harden, LeBron, but it's just got to be Giannis, no ifs, ands, or buts.
I disagree completely. Okay, well, my argument, okay, it is the most valuable player to a team. Now, you've got two guys who are in the first seed, right? You've got Giannis with the Bucks, LeBron with the Lakers, he has a supporting cast around him, a full supporting cast that if they miss a game, their team should be able to carry them. And I think that they could. I don't think the Bucks were trying today. That they don't prove my point today. But with the Rockets, yeah, ignore today's game because it goes against what I'm saying. But with the Rockets, Harden scores like a third of our points usually. Without him, you don't see. He missed a game the other night. I don't remember who they were playing. It might have been the Pacers or maybe, yeah, it was the Pacers. No, the Spurs. And he didn't play that game. And it just, the scoring was awful. The Rockets absolutely rely on him. And he has carried them throughout this entire season, in my opinion. I think that he is definitely the most valuable to the team. I think that the other ones are great players, but I don't think that their team needs them as badly as the Rockets need Harden. That will always be my argument.
It's a good argument because that's the exact same argument I used for when Russell Westbrook won MVP in 2017.
Yep.
Because the Thunder were like a 6th seed, which is very low for an MVP candidate. Rockets are a 5th seed, but they're tied for the 4th seed, I think. It's just a tiebreaker.
Right.
So I think the argument is sound, but we'll just see. Because it's just
we know that
from a
we know that Giannis is going to get it. Oh, no. You lagged again. Refresh. Okay.
I'm always here to save the day.
Oh, I thought you were frozen too. I was like, what's
that? Would have been funny. Do you think you could handle the show on your own?
I could tell the last bit of news, and to me, it was the craziest headline of the week. Giannis headbutted Mo Wagner in the middle of a game.
Yes, he did.
I didn't get to watch the game. I don't even know what it was about. I think I read that Mo was talking about his mom. I'm not sure. That was just something I read on Twitter. I don't know how true that is. But yeah, he headbutted him in the middle of a game and got 1 game suspension. We're talking about Giannis's headbutt. I feel like if it had been any other player, they would have definitely got more than 1 game. But
absolutely,
just because he's Giannis, he got only 1 game, so he'll be back for playoffs. You're frozen again, man. Your internet.
He's dying out on us. Right at the end, we have 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, and he's dying out on us.
Okay, here's some cool news. The Spurs, it's not cool. It sucks for the Spurs. The Spurs ended their 22-year playoff run. For the past 22 years, Popovich has got them to playoffs.
I believe that was the longest streak in all of sports as well.
But it ended this year when they were eliminated today. So now the Rockets hold the longest active streak of 8 years. And that is just, if we're still talking about MVPs, that's ever since James Harden signed with the Rockets.
That's where you're going with this.
Also Rockets related, Austin Rivers had a 41-point game, which is wild. His career high, I want to say it was 35 maybe. I don't know, but the other night he just went off. And he got 41 points when they were playing the Kings. So, it was the Kings, but.
Let's see if we have, do we have Hunter this time?
I had to refresh twice. I don't know what's going on today. We were.
Hunter, just in time to do the outro. Let's go.
Oh, no, he froze again.
All right. I'll do the outro then. Ladies and gentlemen, we are down to the final minute. Yeah, the final hour. The final minute here on Behind the Basket, brought to you by the Game Changer Sports Network. If you missed any of our shows this week, go back and watch them. We had a phenomenal week with some great conversations across the board. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you very much for joining us this week. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, I don't know, Twitch, specifically Twitch. I was getting there, Nick. I see you backstage commenting. I was getting there. But we are really looking to grow our Twitch. It is at official_GCSN. Give us a follow. Watch our videos on the Twitch itself. Help us grow that platform. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back on, I believe,
oh my God,
Saturday with Sunday with Circus Monkey. And we are out of here.
Bye, guys.
Let's end it.